Brian Grimes, your real estate mentor, back with another action-packed session. I wanted to spend some time with you guys today to discuss lead violations, lead inspections, lead being in properties. If you are a landlord or a BRRRR strategist and you're operating with existing structures, so going in and doing full gut renovations or any type of cosmetic renovation on an existing property, you need to understand lead. Because if you don't, you could end up in a situation like this landlord that we're about to check out this video on, who had massive violations on his property. He's getting sued across a 40 property or 40 plus property portfolio. So we're going to tap into this case. This is like ongoing right now as we speak. And we're going to talk about some ways that you can protect yourself from lead violations, children in your properties getting lead poison, and the liability that comes with that. If you're new to the platform, like, comment, and subscribe. Leave the comment that says I subscribe. For everyone who leaves that comment, I'll send you instant access to my free real estate training. It'll show you how to acquire properties for pennies on the dollar all across the country. You don't want to miss out on that free offer. So let's tap straight into this thing, and we'll kind of talk about lead violations and how you can avoid it. Stick around to the end because you don't want to miss out on this information. Missing out on this info, any part of it, could cost you like infinite liability, your entire portfolio, because there's no limit to the liability in most municipalities, most states, when it comes to lead violations. No limit.
Children being poisoned by lead-based paint from old housing stock is a topic we've covered many times before because Buffalo's housing stock is some of the oldest in the country. And in this lawsuit filed today, the landlord, Farhad Rezida, and his wife, Shohreh Zahedi, who live in California, are accused of violating lead safety laws at 46 properties in East Buffalo and one in Cheektowaga. At least 16 children living at these rental properties have gotten sick from lead poisoning, which can lead to all kinds of neurological problems, especially in children who eat.
You can see right here some of the lead violation, like all of these old window encasings, door encasements, and you'll see like the chipping paint. A lot of these things were built pre-1978. Pre-1978 in the United States, people were still using lead. So even if you're going to get like a lead certificate, and this is how you protect yourself, you will get a lead inspection on your property, and the inspector will issue degrees of lead certificates. There can be lead safe, meaning that there's lead in the property, but you don't have some of this chipping paint and things that are visible on the property. And then you can get like a lead safe as long as this property passes a dust swipe sample. There's only so many parts per million that are allowed in your sample. When you have a inspector come out, they kind of wipe down the surfaces of the property. So you would clean it first, they wipe it down, and they send it off to a lab. As long as it comes back safe, you will get a safe lead safe cert. Now, this lead safe cert typically will last for about 2 years. So every 2 years, you would need to do some type of a renewal. There are also lead-free and limited lead-free. Not every municipality or state will use these limited lead-frees, but a limited lead-free means there's no lead on the inside. Only on the exterior is lead potentially present in some of these like window encasings and some of these other areas. And then you have lead-free, which means they inspected the entire property and there's no lead. So ideally, you would have a lead-free that lasts for a lifetime. A limited lead-free, you would have to just scrape and paint the exterior every couple of years so it doesn't look like this. And then a lead-safe, you'd have to do like a full interior inspection, wipe down, dust sample every 2 years. And you have to do it before any new tenant moves in. So even within that 2 year period, if you're re-tenanting the property, you'd have to do it again. So before that new tenant moves in. So let's keep going here. But once I see this, I already know like they're kind of skating by the issue and not upkeeping these properties, or out of town landlords, and 16 children being, lead poison. This is massive. 16 children is massive. If you had one child in your property come back with lead poison, especially under the age of 6 years old, this is like the worst case scenario if they're under the age of 6. And how these tests are coming back is these children go to the doctor to get annual physicals, or they're going every 6 months to get shots and get different vaccines to go to school. And the doctors will check their blood. They'll do like a little blood test, and they're checking for lead. So the lead will definitely come back on these children. They're the most susceptible because they're smaller bodies So a little bit of lead to an adult is like not a big deal, right? But to a child, while your brain is still developing, you're still growing, and your body is so small, a little bit of lead exposure could have a massive impact on your long-term trajectory, on your development. So in most states and municipalities, if you don't have the proper lead certs, you don't have your game tight, as I call it, there's unlimited liability. You could get sued for millions of dollars, and it could even pierce the corporate veil. So even if your property's in an LLC, land trust, you could get pierced, and they could come after all of your assets. Unlimited liability. So and there's like look back periods. So even after they move out, if they get tested 5 years from now in some states, they can come back and sue you 5 years from now and say, my child's having developmental properties. This is because of you and your property. So let's see kind of how this thing is developing.
Eat lead paint chips. The Attorney General wants the landlord and his wife to get rid of all of the lead paint hazards at the 75 homes they own, pay penalties and restitution to the impacted families, and hand over rent payments to an appointed receiver for now.
We're seeking an EPA assessor
They want the rent
who
back
will
too.
go to these
Hand it over to a
70 some odd
receiver.
properties and do testing. And in the event that families and children need to be relocated, they will be relocated, and that expense will be paid for by the landlord.
Wow. So even when they move these tenants out and relocate them, one, they're going to make you do a full lead remediation. So when you get hit with violations at this level, they're not going to give you the opportunity to go and do a lead safe in the property. Now they're going to put a lead remediation on these properties, right? All 40 of them, or however many they have. With this lead remediation issue, this violation, now they have to go in. They have to hire a lead remediation company, which is going to upcharge them. On top of the construction costs, there's probably going to be another $20,000 or $30,000 of just like, hey, we're specialist fees, right? So now they're paying these specialist fees on top of that on every deal. And they have to get lead free. So they have to pretty much do full gut renovations on all these properties in Buffalo, New York, where the ARVs, I can tell you, they're not really sufficient for anybody to do a gut renovation. And then they're going to relocate the people until the remediation is done. And you're going to bear that expense of a hotel fee for a person to stay for 2-3 months. I mean, I don't know how long that gut renovation will take. They're going to have to pull all permits. The city's not going to give them any breaks. So maybe a 2 or 3 month stay, they're in there while you're waiting for permits to clear, while you're getting architect plans, engineer plans, finding contractors, managing contractors, paying contractors, and you're paying $200 a night for a hotel. I mean, this is like a nightmare situation for a landlord, but the whole book is getting thrown at them. This will wipe you out of the business. And this is why it's so important to have your game tight. Most of the nightmare stories like this that you'll hear in real estate are from landlords who did not have their paperwork together, did not have their rental licenses, did not have their lead certificates, did not register their properties properly. And this is what jams you up. This is why mentorship can be so important. Having somebody who's been through this stuff. I've gotten lead violations on properties. I've dealt with this stuff in Baltimore. So I'm very well versed in it. My brother actually and I got lead certified so that we could go in and do remediations on properties for lead. So we got super well versed in this stuff as we started to learn about it. And it's just so important to deal with people who've lived it and kind of understand how to navigate this stuff, because it can be a true nightmare situation. And there is lead in these properties. When you go into C-class neighborhoods, even A-class neighborhoods, if these properties were built pre-1978, if they are not pretty much new construction or they weren't built recently, these properties have a ton of lead in them. You can really get crushed. So let's wrap up this video and see what else happens to these guys. But they're getting a book thrown at them.
Who unfortunately ignored for far too long lead paint violations and citations that had been filed against him by the local authorities.
I searched online for a way to contact Rizada today and only found an address in San
Yeah,
Diego. The city of Buffalo, by the way, inspects rental homes and checks for peeling and chipping lead paint to make sure landlords are in compliance. So for more information and resources about that, just go to the story online.
So that's that, guys. Like, if you violate these rules, if you're not maintaining your properties, and here's the fun fact, these people could have a property management company. They could have somebody who's supposed to be keeping an eye on their properties, who's collecting that 10% property management fee, and it's just not managing those properties properly, which is why you have to manage the manager in real estate. You have to manage your property management company. You have to push them. You have to keep an eye on them. You have to inspect your own properties. There's a lot that goes into this game that the average person just doesn't understand. And they want to go out and play the game of the School of Hard Knocks. I'm just going to learn on the fly, figure it out from the School of Hard Knocks. This is the School of Hard Knocks. This is what happens, right? You can get these violations. You can get wiped out of the game, even after getting up to a 40 or 50 property portfolio. So take it from me. You don't want to learn this stuff the hard way. You want to tap into mentorship so that you can learn the easy way and get access to the knowledge before you run into the pitfalls. So hopefully this helps you guys. Brian Grouchy, Real Estate Mentor, signing off.